Hello and welcome to my next video on post-16 options, and this video looks at apprenticeships. Right, so as I previously stated, for those of you who are in year 11, you are currently studying GCSE or level 2 qualifications. Now it's quite important for you to understand those levels, and so when I refer to level 2 qualifications, it's GCSEs or BTECs, for example. As such, if you're seeking an apprenticeship, so you're looking at the next stage of your life, you should be looking at level 3 apprenticeships, which are known as advanced level apprenticeships. And I'll go into that in a little more detail. Now, as I previously mentioned, we can't get away from the inescapable fact that the better your qualifications, the more likely you are to earn more money. And the same is true of apprenticeships. So for students who go on to undertake degree level apprenticeships, there is no difference between their pay and other graduates. They also have the advantage of not having to have to pay for tuition fees. I should also say that those kind of degree level apprenticeships can be in lots of different jobs, but unfortunately at this moment in time, although they're developing, there aren't as many degree level apprenticeships as normal degrees. Okay, so this is a bit of an overview of what the apprenticeship system looks like. So at one end of the scale are degree level apprenticeships, and at the other there are these things called intermediate apprenticeships. Now intermediate apprenticeships are level 2 apprenticeships, so they're the equivalent of studying at GCSE. So as I previously mentioned, for most of you leaving school in year 11, if you were to choose to do that, you would be looking at an advanced level apprenticeship, because that would be the equivalent of going to college and studying 2 A-levels or sixth form or their equivalent. You could then go on to doing a higher level or degree level apprenticeship, which, as I say, are much better paid and equivalent to sort of people who graduate from university. Now, I'm going to give you an example of this. Having had a look at the apprenticeships that are on offer in my local area, there were a couple of apprenticeships offered by a fried chicken retailer. I'm sure you can guess which one. And they had a couple of apprenticeships, and one was at level 2, so the equivalent of GCSE. So a level 2 apprenticeship was basically preparing and selling the food, although they gave it a nice title like customer service advisor. When you read the advert, you knew that that was the particular job that they were wanting. Level 3 apprenticeship, so the equivalent of the A-level, was as a team leader. Now in terms of hours and benefits, so free food, etc., that was exactly the same. However, there was a significant difference in pay and ultimately the prospects of people completing the apprenticeship. Now, a couple of facts which you should be aware of. An apprenticeship must pay at least £4.15 per hour. That's the government minimum. Most companies will pay more than that. However, the one thing you have to bear in mind is that you are not doing an apprenticeship because you're wanting the pay. You're hopefully doing an apprenticeship because you're interested in that particular job and developing a career in that particular environment. The other thing is that at least 20% of your time will be dedicated to studying. That could be 1 day a week, which is the kind of traditional model, 2 half days, or a block of time which has been set aside for your studies. So one of the questions you might want to ask is, where are you going to find an apprenticeship? I should say that all apprenticeships are advertised on the government's website. Now, I put the link there, but if you type into Google government and apprenticeships, you'll come up with the website. Now, I'm not saying it's the most attractive website in the world, but it does show you where the apprenticeships are and how you can apply for them. Now, there are a few things that you need to be aware of. Apprenticeships are advertised throughout the year. Now, you might think that they would be advertised at the end of the school year, but they're not. Strangely enough, at this moment in time in the area where I live, there are about 100 apprenticeships on offer, which is quite large. So they tend to be advertised, as I say, through the year as and when businesses need an apprentice. and you can only apply once you have left school. I should also say that the application process is the same as applying for a job. It is much more complicated than applying to college. Sometimes when I speak to people who are considering apprenticeships, they almost give the impression that they're just going to knock on a company's door and they're going to be offered an apprenticeship straight away. That's not true. You have to apply for it in the same way as you would for a job. I should also say that most apprenticeships at level 3 are going to expect that you have got English and Maths GCSE. The last thing to say is that you should only apply for an apprenticeship because you're interested in it, not because you like the pay. So I very often see apprenticeships which seem to pay perhaps not as much as other apprenticeships, but when you actually look at the apprenticeship offered, it's perhaps much more prestigious. It's likely to lead to higher pay when you complete the apprenticeship than other apprenticeships. So you might want to think that the apprenticeship is a kind of short to medium term thing that you're doing, and the ultimate goal is getting a decent job, rather than thinking, I don't care what the pay is like at the end of the apprenticeship. I'm just interested in the money at this moment in time. Okay, so I hope that this has given you a reasonable overview of what an apprenticeship involves, and I hope that this information has proved somewhat useful.